To start this story, let's head out to wild space, down to the tropical world of Kaleesh, home of the Kaleesh species. The exact year he was born is unknown, but given that their lifespan is similar to humans, we can reason that Kaimanjai Shilal was born sometime around 60 BBY, being close in age to Obi-Wan Kenobi. His species were red-skinned reptilian humanoids, whose entire culture revolved around war and their religion. Tribal wars had been constant throughout their history, with warriors slaying each other with their shoni spears or lig swords, and later when they got their hands on some alien tech, the most ubiquitous weapons were the Zerka Arms Outland Rifle. This was not a plasma-firing blaster rifle, but a form of slug thrower, meaning it fired a solid projectile like a bullet. Shilal's father noted that the boy's gift for anger could be shaped into a great warrior, and trained him in the slug rifle as soon as he could walk. Because at this time in their history, the Kaleesh were in the middle of the Huk War. For generations, his people had suffered endless attacks from the technologically superior insectoid species, the Yamri. The Kaleesh name for these spacefaring slavers was the Huk, meaning soulless bugs. The people whose entire culture bred them for war against each other were now struggling to survive against the high-tech weaponry of the invaders. And the one thing that all Kaleesh tribes try to preserve the most were their burial sites. Ancestor gods had glorious temples, and it was believed that great martial victories could ensure one a spot in the heavens, perhaps even becoming a god themselves in the afterlife. By the time Shilal was 8 years old, he was already considered a great marksman, and had 40 confirmed Huk kills. By 22, he had killed so many of these alien bugs that the tribes were starting to see him as a sort of demigod. Throughout the war, shamans would play a crucial role in keeping people connected with the meaning of their dreams and their ancestors. And at this point in the war, his father had been slain by the Huk, leaving his Moo skull mask to his son. One night, Shilal dreamt that he had hunted a Moo, a sort of boar native to Kaleesh, and had slain it with a pair of lig swords. Upon awakening, he donned his father's mask and headed out to the jungles to slay the Moo. And this was the first time he laid eyes on Ronderu Lij Kormar, a female Kaleesh wearing a Krabak skull mask and bearing 2 lig swords, who struck with the significance of his dream, that he was wearing the Moo mask. He was the hunted one, to be slain by this woman. Not literally, not the loss of his physical life, but she would kill that part of him that wished to fight alone, the death to his old warrior bachelor side. Their relationship would be complicated and not fully understood by most other Kaleesh, but most knew them as lovers, and the shamans saw them as the embodiment of an ancient Kaleesh parable of the dreamer also being the dreamt one, which is what the word Shalil literally means. He was both the one having the dream and being dreamt of by her, and when these two united into one, Shilal and Kumar were the stuff of Huk nightmares. She increased his proficiency with blades. He trained her to be a deadly sniper, and together they were deadlier than entire tribes. The warring with the Huk was at its peak, and despite hundreds of thousands of dead bugs that now fertilized the forest of Kaleesh, these high-tech aliens were still unwavering. And Shilal's life would change forever after a seemingly routine attack on the Janua beaches. With their swarms, the Huk were able to drive a wedge between them. Separated, Kumar was surrounded and suffered a violent death, being ripped apart by the Huk's barbed shear weaponry. Her body was dumped in the sea as the soulless ones moved on to consume the next tribe. Shilal knew his soulmate was lost, but he was driven into madness at not being able to find her body. If she could not receive a proper burial, her soul would be denied an afterlife, and she would never be able to gain her rightful place as a warrior goddess. None of the shamans could calm him down, and in his despair he set a course for the island monolith Abesmi, the site from which the gods ascended into heaven. This sea journey was considered impossible, but he was able to solo navigate across the violent sea. At the holy site, he pleaded with the gods to raise Kumar out of the waters, to find her and give him one last chance to look upon her face. And after what seemed like an eternity, his cries received no answer. At the site that represented the physical connection to the heavens, the gods were silent. He had never had to accept defeat, but eventually he was forced to make the perilous journey back home. Doing what he could to try and remain powerful for his war-torn community, he would attempt a normal life, taking 10 wives and fathering 30 children. But nothing could get his mind off the injustices done to him by the Huk and the silence of the gods. He was no longer the one the shamans had spoke of, the dreamer and the dreamt one. He was no longer a pair of joined opposites with this woman. He merely grieved her. He would reject his symbolic name, accepting that it was his lot in life to be the tormented warrior, the Grievous one. but he also decided that he would not be the only one to suffer.